Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our Switch challenge. Now this is episode 2. Today we're going to take a look at more hardware and see if we can continue fixing our Nintendo Switch. Now before we get into it, we're just going to go through a recap. If you haven't seen our first episode, link will be in the description below. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Now a quick recap of what the Switch challenge is. I'm here to figure out if these older Switches still have some life left into them, or should you upgrade to the latest Switch 2. And to do that, I needed to get my hands on a first gen or red box Switch. So that brings us to last episode. Now in our last video, we got our hands on a decently priced Nintendo Switch console that was in need of repairs. We were able to get it working, as it turns out the console was previously modded, so it does have some signs of life. Now we ordered a Flash NAND, it arrived in the mail. Today we're going to figure out if we can repair it to see if we can get it into a stock state. Now this stock state is to see if we can get it to boot the Switch normally and see if we can continue moving on that way. Now I did mention this in part 1, if you're planning to keep the Switch modded, technically you don't need the Flash NAND, or at least that's what I think. But if we want this thing to behave like a stock Switch, we'll definitely need it. So today's goal, we're going to see if we can restore the stock firmware. So whatever the outcome is, we're going to finish up with that. We'll order some modifications and get back into it. Alright, and here is our Flash NAND. Now, these things don't pair directly with our Nintendo Switch. We will have to rebuild it, but installation isn't too difficult. Just unplug your battery, reseat the Flash NAND, and then replug your battery back in, and you're good to go. Now this metal shield is just covering this little spot here. It isn't 100% needed. Just make sure you click it in all the way if you're reseating a Flash NAND. Don't be like me, unplug the battery before you do so. Alright, now that we have our Flash NAND installed, let's hit the power button and see what happens. Now I hit the power button and it showed us the Nintendo logo, but it didn't actually boot. And that was the only time I could get it to show the Nintendo logo, unless I powered off the Switch fully by disconnecting the battery, unconnecting the Flash NAND, reseating the Flash NAND, plugging the battery back in, and then hitting the power button again. It does make sense. The Flash NAND isn't recognized within the device itself, so we will have to go about somehow restoring the software with it and pairing it with our Switch. Like I said before, that process is a little bit meticulous, as you pretty much have to rebuild the entire file system. Or at least I think. Let's take a moment, let's go see if it can be done, and how so. Now just like I said before, when repairing the Flash NAND, it is a little bit meticulous, as you will need a modded Switch to rebuild it and pretty much repair it to your Switch. You will also need all these files that, if you don't have your original Switch NAND, are not accessible. Ultimately meaning this Switch will never be able to play online easily. Now I'm perfectly fine with that, I said it in the previous video. Nintendo Switch Online don't want it perfectly fine with it. It just means if you ever come across a Switch that does need a Flash NAND replaced and it's modded, you won't be able to play online again. Just something you have to be wary of, and when it comes to the process, let's see how we go about actually repairing it. Now when it came to finding the way to rebuild the Flash NAND, it took me a while, but I found this YouTuber who has a couple of videos that actually explain how to rebuild your Flash NAND, and they do have an updated guide that was posted last year. So if you ever come across the need of rebuilding your Flash NAND, I would highly suggest this YouTuber pretty much set up all the tutorials when it comes to rebuilding that Flash NAND. Now for me, I went through all 3 levels just to see if I can get it working. And after a couple days, I can successfully say that I was able to rebuild my Flash NAND. Now I don't have any of the prod info or sysnand or pretty much anything that was required. Luckily, I was able to find donor NAND prod info, so I had to use the level 3 guide. When it comes to something like this, I would highly suggest watching through all the videos first before trying to attempt the repair on yourself. It will take you quite a couple of tries and quite some time if you have to source certain files and programs. Now, it doesn't 100% work as intended. It's supposed to, in non-auto RCM mode, boot into the stock Nintendo OS. And then when you have auto RCM enabled, it's looking for that jailbreak. If you don't have a mod chip installed and you have it soft modded, when you push the load through, it's supposed to boot into your whatever jailbreak software you're running. For me, there is no default state with the standard OS. It just sits waiting for you to either load the jailbreak or enable RCM and push the patch through then. That is something I still want to take a look at, but we'll probably take a look at later on. Now, your mileage may vary if you do this at any point. Just fair warning, it is a painful process. The link that I found will be in the description below for this video. It did save me, but remember, it's not doable on all switches, especially if your switch is not modded. Alright, so after all this, again, I was able to get our Flash NAND working. So big shout out to this YouTuber. Thank you so much. Let's get to fixing our switch then. Now that we have our switch in a semi-usable state, here on our Excel sheet, I'm going to add the rest of the things we need to buy to return the switch to its stock state and add the miscellaneous and upgrades. Now, I was thinking of just adding the digitizer to returning it to stock, but the switch digitizer already works, so I'm going to actually put those under miscellaneous and upgrades. So let me just switch everything out and we'll go from there. Alright, so I added the rest of the products. I may be missing one or two things, but I'll add those when everything arrives. So to return everything to their stock state, we already have our Flash NAND. I'll add the cost at the end of the video. And then I have to go and buy some Joy-Cons as well as all of our miscellaneous upgrades. So why don't we go search for those, buy them, and wait for them to arrive. All of our stuff finally came, means we can start working on our Nintendo Switch. Alright, so here is my experience when it came to adding mods and upgrading our Switch. Now, the entire process for shelf swapping and trying the mod chip for the Switch itself took me around 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that was just doing the shelf swap and some upgrades, not even including the time it took me to do the Joy-Cons. First off, because I actually didn't know how to do this. Secondly, I had to watch a guide online to see how the Switch actually comes apart. There is a iFixit guide in the description below that explains how to go about this. It is a decently meticulous process and requires you to go a little bit slow when it comes to disassembling the Switch. Now, you actually don't have to fully disassemble the Switch. You just have to unmount the Switch from its mid plate, and you have to remove the digitizer screen to get access to the screws holding the front to the mid plate. Once the entire Switch was pretty much disassembled, reassembly didn't take too long as I was just doing everything in reverse. Now, when it came to the digitizer, when ordering, there were two different versions. There was a Switch version 1 and Switch version 2. Because the Switch is already modded, the version 1 actually works with a version 2 Switch, but I ended up ordering the version 1 anyway because I couldn't tell which Switch version I have. Now, they recommend getting a version 2 for version 2 and a version 1 for the version 1. But, it is what it is. I can always just reconfigure it if needed. And, I've already gone through it. You see that I ended up going with a nice transparent green in regards for the shell. There are plenty of shops that sell different styles. There was transparent in all different colors. There was even solid colors. I just wanted a transparent green like the old Game Boys. Now, something I wanted to do while I had the Switch torn down was solder on the mod chip. I ordered the mod chip online, and the process is supposed to be straightforward. You pick this ground and power circuit looking thing. I don't know how to describe this. Based on your Switch, either version 1 or version 2. You sideload the jailbreak onto the flash chip itself, and you pretty much put it in between the console Flash NAND and the Flash NAND itself. Fortunately, this could cause some corruption, but it should be perfectly fine. My issue is, I didn't know if I had a version 1 or version 2 Switch. I kept looking everywhere. I even took your advice in some of the comments. And I couldn't actually figure out the console type. I've tried with both version 1 and version 2, and I don't know if it was my soldering job. I tried it multiple times. It was actually overheating that chip. So unfortunately, I just desoldered it, and we're leaving our own console in a soft modded state. Unfortunately, links to all of these will not be in the description below. All you need to do is just go to Google or any other web browser and just type in switch, the name of your switch. Either it's a Switch Lite, Switch OLED, standard switch. I don't know about Switch 2 yet. Type in that, and then just type in replacement shell for any color you're looking for, and plenty will pop up. There's everything on eBay, Amazon, any other marketplace. You should be able to find a couple. Now, when it came to doing the same thing but to the Joy-Cons, this took, again, quite some time. Now, the Joy-Cons are smaller, and the plastic on the mounting is a little bit more fragile compared to the standard Switch shell. And because these are reproduction and not like Nintendo OEM style, the mounts are a little bit softer. These are metal screws going to plastic threads, and we're pretty much threading them the first time. So you kind of don't want to unscrew, rescrew, unscrew, rescrew, as the mounting hole is not that thick. Now, something I did notice when I was doing the Joy-Cons are the triggers don't really work well, or at least the triggers that came with the shell swap. So I ended up having to keep my original black triggers on the Joy-Cons, which to me, I don't 100% like, because I ended up changing all the buttons out, so only the joystick and now the trigger is the regular black color, while everything else is the transparent. But I mean, it is what it is. I just have to live with that. Or I can always just look for replacement triggers. Something I also didn't like was I had to transfer over the power button, volume buttons, the game card, and the audio jack. I mean, that one I couldn't switch out from the original Switch. So if you actually look at the back, it's those black accented parts. And the mesh that came with the shell itself, that one also was a solid black instead of being, let's say, clear, or even the same color as the console itself. But I mean, all in all, even though it did take quite some time, a couple tries for me to get this right, I say for a first time try, it wasn't too bad. But if it's your first time trying to take something apart, I would first try buying something broken online or on eBay. See if you can find something to just give it a go first before you try to replace something on something that you own. Now, that's only my opinion, as you kind of don't want to break something that you have and then you actually don't have it anymore to use. But I mean, it's all up to you how you want to experience it. And that's pretty much my experience replacing my shell on the Joy-Cons and the Switch itself, and we're good to go. And here is our final build list out for costs. We have our return to stock and our miscellaneous upgrades. Starting with return to stock, we have our console from eBay for 55 USD. We have our Flash NAND I found online for $10, and our Joy-Cons I found on the local marketplace for $30. Bringing the total cost to 95 USD, with everything including taxes and fees. That brings us to that total cost of 95 USD, which is actually under the budget I was looking at. Now this is only to return it to a stock state. Technically could have left the Switch as is with an SD card and jailbroke the Switch, but I wanted to upgrade it, so I got a bigger SD card for $15, shell swapped it for $20, got a new digitizer for $10, added a screen protector for $5, added a travel case and clear case, both for $5 each. Now I did try to install the mod chip, which ultimately failed, so I removed that from the total cost, as well as that test battery I bought, which I didn't need, which was $10. Bring our total cost to 45 USD for everything. Now finalizing this out, it cost us 140 USD for the Switch in its new state. It's jailbroken, good to go, and the only thing we don't have are the extra miscellaneous things that we could buy if we needed, but that's pretty much it. Now, in the next video, we're going to be in a tutorial style jailbreaking our switch, and stay tuned for that if you're looking to jailbreak a switch. If not, we're going to cover a jailbreak tutorial and look at a couple other things as well. And that's it for today's video. We've successfully fixed our Flash NAND. Now I technically want to take a look at it and see if I can fix it even more, but we've fixed it and we've shell swapped our switch, Joy-Cons, and upgraded this thing hardware wise. In the next video, we will be diving into the software side. So we're going to be setting up our modded switch and add some homebrew apps or anything else. The next video will be a tutorial style video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this series, make sure to hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Like if you like this, if you dislike it, and I'll see you all in the next video.